You're watching ChillyBoy Productions. I'm Larry ChillyBoy Chillson, and this is my review for The Little Mermaid. Now, before we get into this review, make sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button down below so that you can chill with me on each and every one of my latest videos. The Little Mermaid is a 2023 fantasy musical that serves as a remake of the Disney animated classic, which itself was an adaptation of the Hans Christian Andersen story. The film follows Ariel, who longs to be part of the human world, which leads her to make a deal with the sea witch Ursula that allows her to venture above water. This 2023 adaptation stars Halle Bailey, David Diggs, Aquafina, Javier Bardem, and Melissa McCarthy. So, a couple of disclaimers heading into this review. One, I don't actually love the Disney animated classic. I enjoy it well enough, particularly because that music, top tier. However, the story, it just never really resonated with me. So, getting a live action adaptation of this story both excited me because I thought, well, maybe there is room to actually improve upon the story that was presented previously. It also worried me because, well, there's a lot that can go wrong with this story I already don't love. But the second disclaimer is I really have not been enjoying these Disney live action remakes, particularly when it's come to the Renaissance era, the Disney princess film. For every Cinderella, there's a Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, we have some middle of the road takes like Aladdin, but by and large, they've just felt largely uninspired. Imagine that, a remake feeling uninspired? Who would have thunk?
Groundbreaking.
And well, the trailers seemed like they were giving more of the same when it came to this live action remake for The Little Mermaid. The one thing that was keeping me excited was Halle Bailey and her rendition of Part of Your World, which I still have on rotation in the playlist. Ultimately, The Little Mermaid is okay. I actually think it's pretty akin to Aladdin, honestly, where there are a lot of good things that take place, a few changes that I actually think work, but by and large, just still feels like an inferior version of the animated classic that takes changes that aren't needed. So let's go ahead and talk about the positives first. Far and away, my biggest positive is Halle Bailey as Ariel. She is actually fantastic in this role. First of all, thank you for actually hiring a princess who can sing, not just sing. Halle sings this part, okay? Her part of your world is amazing. They obviously knew that they had something special with her and her voice because they add her into other songs that Ariel originally doesn't sing in and actually give her some new original music. More so than just her vocal talent as a singer, which should have been a base requirement for any of the princes or princesses that sing. She's fantastic as Ariel. She has this really childlike wonderment, this naivety that gives her curiosity a wonderful authenticity. She has these big, beautiful, expressive eyes that tell so much of the story. She has so much great facial acting, the voice is down. Honestly, everything about her characterization of Ariel is fantastic. And she carries this film. Honestly, if they had hired a lesser actress to play the lead here, the film would have fallen flat on its face for me. Halle Bailey carries this thing. But I have to give it to David Diggs. I think he's actually quite good as Sebastian. And his singing, meh, not nearly as strong as the OG Sebastian, but as a vocal talent, he is a lot of fun. I think Jacob Tremblay is also a lot of fun. Jonah Howard King is a delight as Eric. He is a live action Disney prince and just as dreamy as you'd hope. Now, I think Melissa McCarthy is solid as Ursula, but when you love Ursula, solid isn't really singing praises. I'll say that. I also think Rob Marshall had some nice visual flair to his direction. The cinematography itself is actually quite nice, particularly in some of the big landscape shots, some of the overwater, like the opening is amazing. It's beautiful. The big shipwreck, the kind of like live action that takes place is really well shot and nice to look at. Cinematography is beautiful. The work with the transitions and movement all works really well from Rob Marshall as the director. And the original score is great. Honestly, particularly at the beginning, as we're setting the tone for the magic of this underwater world, the score does so much heavy lifting in creating beautiful magic. And there's actually quite a few changes or additions, I should say, to the original film that I quite enjoyed. Particularly, they do a lot to help flesh out this romance. In the OG Little Mermaid, it's one of my biggest pet peeves. Like this, love. Oh, it's just this big romance, blah, blah, blah. Here, they make you understand why these two people fall for each other, particularly as quickly as they do. And it feels believable. It feels so much more authentic this time around. Ariel gets some more autonomy in some situations. But then, what doesn't work so well when it comes to The Little Mermaid? Well, I have to say it, the CGI is actually pretty bad, distractingly bad when we're underwater, to be honest. In a post Avatar The Way of Water world, these visuals are just not going to cut it. Never did it feel like they were underwater, even with the hair movements that they try to add or some of the fluidity. No, it felt very stagnant, dry, bland anytime we were underwater. And the animals themselves didn't look great, regardless of the uncanniness of, Sebastian and Flounder and their unexpressive photorealism. Had these other CGI moments where it kind of felt like heads weren't really attached to anything as they're floating on green screen. It's a lot of green screen work that just doesn't look good. It's really hard to create the magic of this underwater fantasy when it very clearly looks like bad CGI and green screen. And yeah, the climax of this film looks crazy. I'm actually shocked that they decided to recreate the animated film a little bit when it comes to the big climax moment, and it just doesn't work for me. Speaking of, Javier Bardem literally sleepwalks, or should I say, sleep swims through this film. There was not an emotion to be seen from Javier. Honestly, King Triton looked weird in the movie. Like, I don't know, everything about how he was positioned, everything about his facial expressions, all of it, whether he was above water, the makeup, the hair, nothing about King Triton looked right. And then Javier Bardem did literally nothing to sell it. We have the new songs. I didn't like a single one of them. I'm sorry. There's one that's actually terrible. Lin Manuel, Goodwill is gone after that Scuttlebutt song. Do you understand me? But none of the songs are very good. Honestly, they actually dumb down the story for the audience. We give Ariel some new songs and they don't work. They're like these exposition songs that really dumb down the script. Prince Eric gets a song, and then they removed some of my favorite moments in Poor Unfortunate Souls in my favorite song from the entire film. So that's all I'll say so that I don't spoil it. But literally, my favorite lines from The Little Mermaid are gone. So I wasn't very happy about that. And honestly, they just made a lot of really weird little tweaks in plot points that didn't need to be made, that just made it all a little bit more convoluted rather than any sort of enhancement. Yeah, and right next to Javier Bardem, Aquafina was horribly miscast as Scuttle. Just, it was grating rather than entertaining or fun. Overall, I think The Little Mermaid is fine. It's not horrible by any means, but it fails to really recapture the magic of the animated classic. Much like the other remakes of this type, a base level, I think it's just a misunderstanding of what makes the animated classics work and the understanding of what animation brings to the table. And once again, when you take it into live action, so much expressiveness, so much wonder and magic is lost in the process. That is most certainly the case here with The Little Mermaid. Halle Bailey does everything she can to bring magic and wonderment to this live action remake. Unfortunately, all the dressings around her just come up a bit short to help her accomplish that goal. So if you like The Little Mermaid, I do think you'll probably find enjoyment here. The songs are all here. They're fun. The set pieces are fun to accompany those new songs. But trust me, don't worry, you're not going to have any new additions to the Disney Classic playlist. Otherwise, and I'm sure kids are going to actually really enjoy this, like they've been enjoying the live action remakes by and large. It's going to make a ton of money. Everyone's going to go see it because we all love the Disney Renaissance films and they're banking on our nostalgia. But for me, The Little Mermaid was just meh at the end of the day. That's my review for The Little Mermaid. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below and subscribe to the channel so that you are always up to date on all of my latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see The Little Mermaid? Let me know your thoughts either in the comment section down below or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Mwah! Thank you for watching and we'll see you next time. Bye.